Hey guys, Wineaux guy here. How you doing? Happy New Year. It's been a while since I've posted. Recently, I was out of town, out of the state, went hiking a few days, ended up getting a lung infection. Bad place to be. Don't get one of those. If you do get one of those, take care of yourself. Otherwise, you'll end up spending 2 to 3 weeks trying to fight it by buying over-the-counter crap, and it never works. Anyway, let's talk about wine. So today we're going to talk about how to taste like a pro and what that really means. So some of us have taken courses and educated and to taste like a pro. But for you, what I want you to do is taste like a pro. And what that means and what it'll do for you. So what is wine tasting and why do we wine taste? Well, those of us that are in the business wine taste because it is our work. And we can advise people on what they may like based on our understanding of what a wine will taste like and smell like. And it's a method. It's just a method for you to get and enjoy wine. Now, you may say, well, I already have my favorite wine. It's a red blend and I buy it all the time. Why do I care? Well, if that's it, if that's all you want is to drink that same wine over and over and over and over and over, have chicken fried steak every single day, every single night, all the same meal, that's okay. But if you would like to have some variety and maybe go from one wine that we really like to a dozen wines that you really like, so that when you're in a restaurant or you're out of the state or you're on vacation, you'll have more options to enjoy wine, because there's nothing worse than buying a bottle of wine and then you're going, oh, this doesn't taste good. And then you're like, oh man, I wish I would have known how to taste this and how to decide. Well, I'm going to give you a little bit of advice on how to do that. And then down the road, we're going to talk about how to be in a wine aisle at your favorite wine store and be able to select and never pick a bad wine again. Now, that being said, if the wine is bad because of something that got damaged, that's a different story. But I'm talking about you'll be able to select wines that you're going to like. So what is wine tasting and how do we do this? So first things first, you're going to pick a wine that is your favorite. Let's just call it a red blend. And you're going to pick one or two more red blends, same price range, and I would start small and work your way higher down the road. And once you've got that, then you have some good friends. I suggest 2-3 people. If you don't have 2 or 3 people you can call, okay. If you're local in town, Dallas, call me. And then fill your wine glass just ever so slightly. You don't need a whole lot of it in the glass. And then what we're going to do is we're going to use a method called the 6 or 7 S's. S's and Sam. And what those 7 words are, we're using our senses. So it's actually another S. How about that? Our senses. And they are see the wine. So we're going to look at the wine, look at the color. A lot of times it helps you to look at the color with a white background. Then we're going to smell it. Then we're going to sip it. And if I was doing a real tasting, I would spit it out. But right now I'm not going to do that. And then we're going to have another S, which is savor it. Savoring it is when you see guys do this. Air and all that kind of stuff that goes into that. There's a reason for all that. And that is, I will explain in just a moment as we go through each one of them. And that is called savoring it. And then just move on to the next one. So another small taste and try it again. And you talk about it. So let's get into the actual, what the deal is with seeing it and why we see it. So we see it. Red wines should be, guess what? Red. If you look at the color and it turns out that it's kind of, and I don't think this one is, it's kind of brown, then you know you got a problem. Oxidized red wines turn brown. Oxidized white wines turn kind of orange, if you will. Oxidation, of course, is when oxygen gets into the wine and messes it up. So we want to see it and understand the colors. And then you'll actually get to a point where once you look at a glass, you can kind of tell what year it is and how young it is and how old it is because of other factors in the glass. And then you will smell it. And what smell does, it gives you what we call in the business terroir. Terroir basically is a sense of place, or if it's from let's say California, it's going to taste a certain way. If it's from Southern California versus Northern California, if it's from Oregon, say we're doing Pinot Noirs, then it's going to be different than it's going to be from Burgundy, France. So those are one of the things that, again, we'll get into more details later, but that will help you out immensely. The thing about smelling is this. Don't be afraid to tilt the glass. I'm going to turn sideways so you can see me. See where my mouth is? Look where my nose is. So my nose is at the mid part of the glass. So that's where you want to smell your wine. You want to smell your wine there. You don't want to put your wine down here where your mouth is, because if you got a runny nose, then you're going to get some boogers on your glass, and then you're going to... Don't do that. So just put your mouth kind of there. Stick your nose in the glass and smell slowly, slowly sniff it. Don't inhale it like, take a big old hunk of air. And then think about what it reminds you of. So let's say it reminds you of green apples or blackberry or cherry. Now you may say, well, I don't smell any of that. I just smell wine or grape. Fantastic. That's a great start. Grape is a good thing. Now, something that I recommend to my students is to go buy some cherries during cherry season, buy some blackberries, buy some blueberries, buy a currant, and cut them open and smell them and notice. And from here forward, from this video forward, every time you go to a restaurant and you get fruit or vegetables or whatever, note the smell of the food and see if that reminds you of any kind of particular wine. So if you're eating a green apple, you say to yourself, oh my gosh, this reminds me of that wine that we like, that Sauvignon Blanc, blah, blah, blah. Or, that's a great cherry pie. That reminds me of so-and-so. But then you'll start correlating the two. Because one of the things about wine is the brain is amazing. It's called neuroplasticity. One of the things that happens when we're drinking wine. So you say, well, I'm never going to be good at that because I've never been good at tasting or smelling or whatever, remembering. Well, you'll remember. Now, someday you're going to take a swig, and you're going to say, gosh, that reminds me of my grandma's basement. Or that reminds me of the figs that we eat when we were at grandma's house, for example. Things like that. You're going to notice some things, and that memory is that part of that neuroplasticity, and your brain will start tweaking itself to make you a better wine taster. So then when we sip, the reason I say sip, the first one, is because, I don't know, I've been talking here for a few minutes, 7 minutes, and now my mouth's kind of dry, so I'm just going to take a sip to wet my whistle. And now comes the real one, the savor. The savor is when you really think about it. Your tongue has basically 4 areas. Front is sugar, sides are bitter, back is bitter or salty. And did I say sides are acidic? Sides are acidic. Back is bitter or salty. That's it. That's all the tongue can do. So without your nose, if you were to hold your nose and drink some wine, you would find out that the wine doesn't taste like anything. You just notice that it's kind of bitter, for example, or it's astringent, which are called tannins. And again, we'll get into that later. So there you go. That is what the thing about the tongue is. And then with the nose added to it, then now you're going to put a word to that taste. Lemon, lime, acid, blueberry, blackberry, black cherry, so forth and so on. Those are going to be the cases. And then, so now, that's when you really get into it. And then the reason you see some people do all that stuff, they swirl it around, and I left the swirl out of this thing, but you swirl it around because see how the glass is shaped? It's shaped round like this. And the reason it's shaped like that is that it helps draw this bouquet of the wine out of the glass. So once we've swirled it, and you heard make that noise, a lot of times getting some oxygen in with the sip helps your palate understand. And that's kind of why we do that. So that is the 5 or 6, 7 S's of wine tasting. Again, it is see it, swirl it, smell it, sip it to get your palate wet, spit it out or not, and then sip it and savor it. Really hold it in your mouth and kind of, if you have to close your eyes and think about what that reminds you of, do so. And then spit it again or not. And there you go. That is the basic. That's how the pros do it. There's a whole lot of other stuff that goes along with that, but that's the basics of it. And as we go down this course, we'll get into more details about what that looks like. So that is how you taste wine like a pro. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you do, please hit subscribe down below here. And remember that to tell your friends, share this with your friends, because everybody likes to drink wine, and everybody that drinks wine likes to drink wine with friends. So, cheers.